Welcome back to the shop. Today on Hot Rod Dave, we're working on this 2013 Jeep Wrangler. These 3.6 Pentastar motors have a common problem with their oil cooler and oil filter extension housing. It's all made in one. This one I believe has leaked some coolant, and we're also having a oil pressure sensor problem sending unit for the gauge. The gauge is reading erratically. It's throwing a code PO 520 I believe. And they're notorious for stripping out the cooler. That sensor, the oil pressure sensor and the oil temperature sensor is mounted in the cooler, which I'll show you in just a minute. And they're notorious for stripping those out. It's a plastic housing with like a brass fitting inside, and when you start backing it out, it likes to spin the fitting. And I believe we're already having a coolant leak from that area as well as an oil leak. So we're gonna get the intakes off, get started on this thing, stick around, see how she goes. All right, so we are going with a Mopar unit. We're not going with the aftermarket deal. There are plenty of aftermarket ones out there for a lot cheaper. Amazon had a bunch of options, but we decided to go with a factory piece. As you can see right here, the oil pressure sending unit, which is this lower switch, goes into this plastic housing. It has that brass bung in there, and that is notorious for stripping out. And we've already got a coolant leak in this area, so I'm pretty sure something from this is leaking coolant. Anyway, we're gonna get this bad boy replaced today. Try to get this is my brother's Jeep, so we're gonna try to get my bro back on the road today. We got to remove the air box. We've got to remove this upper intake, the lower intake, and it's not, there's kind of some bracketry and stuff attached to these. I've only done one of these before. Well, I didn't do an oil cooler, but I did some valve cover gaskets and spark plugs. And it's not the easiest job in the world, but it's doable if you put your mind to it and just stay focused. So we're also going to put some spark plugs in it while we've got this upper intake off and accessible to that side. This thing's got 90,000 roughly miles on it, something like that. I was right, it's got 90,000 miles on it, and I just looked up the service table on all data. So 100,000 miles, this thing requires plugs for 100K service. So we're at 90. We'll do them a little early, but it'll save us some time and labor in the long run, because we're already going to have that upper intake off, which is a pain in the butt. So all right, so 210s on the top. Of course, you clamp it with the throttle body, clicks at the airbox lid, and then you got your sensor on the bottom. Got some vacuum lines to take loose in the upper. You also have some wiring. This one's zip tied right there. Probably the map sensor there. Throttle body connection here. These little plastic tabs you just slide back. Sometimes they break off. This one I'm not cutting, I'm just prying off with the snips. Just wiring out of the way. There's a bracket right here on the side. It's got a couple tins in it. I'll zip those out. Goes in the side of the intake right here, right behind the throttle body. Of course, we'll take the top ones out. I believe I got to snake this out. I can't remember. I think you can lift the top out after that. Oh yeah, there's 2 10s in the back on this bracket right here too. So we'll get those 4 10s out real quick. This little knee pad, I've got several knee pads. This one I was using when I was welding the other day. And a little slag got on there and melted it. This was originally bought for my wife to ride on the back of my Harley years ago when I had a street glide. But she never rode. Couldn't talk her into it. I better get a ratchet. She rode with me when I was when we were single. I didn't have a Harley when I was single. I had a Kawasaki. But once our kids came along, she didn't want to take the chance of both of us getting killed on it, and no one would be here for the children. It was okay for me to go ride and get killed, but she didn't want to die on it. Luckily, nobody got killed. Ended up selling that little toy to put a big beefy transmission in my old Mega Cab Dodge. These, I forgot. I believe there's, you either take this bracket off or you can take the studs out of it. There's inverted Torx bits on the end of these studs. I'm gonna pull those out and see if that makes it a lot easier on me than taking the bracket off. I remember taking the bracket off down there below before. It was a pain in the butt, and I don't know if I couldn't get those studs out of the other one I did or not, or maybe it wasn't studded on the other one that I did. I can't remember, but I don't know if you can see that, but I can already see shiny oil down there. That oil filter housing goes down here, and the cooler's under the lower intake in the middle there, and the sensors are in the back underneath that lower intake. Okay, so these are my inverted Torx set. It looks like an E5 is what it's calling for. Got a big collar behind them. That sucks. So you got to pull the bracket. That's why I did that before. You can't just pull those studs out, so don't try that. It has a collar, a washer behind it, so it's trying to push that whole bracket back. It's trying to bend that bracket, which you probably end up breaking your intake if you try that. That's a stupid design. All right, so I got to take these brackets off. This bracket and this bracket. All right, front brackets out. Okay, I didn't film my struggles, but 13 millimeter ratchet wrench is what I got those out with down here. This bracket, you don't have to take it all the way out. You just have to get it loose enough where you can pop the intake up. I went ahead and pulled the bolts all the way out. I probably could have left them just loose and still in the holes, which I may regret not doing. Because it's really hard to get your hands down in there. You got the steering shaft and all these brake lines in the way, and this AC line. So it's doable. It's just not fun. So got those two brackets out of the way. We're gonna move on to pull the top bolts out. bracket right here. It's like 2 10s right there. They put brackets all over these motors. Bracket, the brackets at the bracket. Harness hold down clip back here on this intake too. Excuse me, it's piling board. We're in Georgia in the middle of this piling run. This is getting to me today. Put these brackets and wiring harness hold downs on everything. I don't know why I really expected this wiring harness to go flying out of the car or something. Got it. Somebody's had this hose out before, so they've boogered it all up. You're going to hear a four-wheeler going about all day in this video because I got the four-wheeler going yesterday for the boys, and they have not got off of it since. So they're having a good time on that Yamaha Bear Tracker. Finally running good. Upper intake's out, we gotta get that lower intake out. So this deal right here is gonna come out so we can get to this oil cooler, which is underneath it. It's awesome design, just swell. All right, so I gotta get this fuel line off this rail right here. So I pop this blue clip up with a flat blade screwdriver, and I'll throw a rag over it, pop this line off, hopefully not get sprayed with fuel. Oh, there's 2 clips. My bad. Blue one on the top and the white one pushes down. I'm sure there's a special tool for this that I don't have. There's 2 legs in it going up like this. I'm just going to try to unclip each side gently without breaking anything, hopefully. Alright, that looks good. I like to lay the rag over it just in case it pops fuel in my face. I don't see a Schrader valve to release pressure, and I'm just going to go for it here. But I thought it was. There it goes. It sprayed, at least it didn't spray my face, it sprayed backwards. Okay. This is my first time ever taking a lower intake off one of these. I haven't had to do that yet, so I'm learning. You're learning as I'm learning here, unless you already know, and then you're laughing. Okay. There's a bunch of harness hold downs you got to kind of unclick. Okay, so you can see I've got my ball joint swivel on a 10mm. I'm on it. I'm about to pop that nut out of there, and then this bracket, it wraps all the way up to here. I'll be able to get it off. Now, you can't get this coil out because you can't get the connector off with this bracket in place. So I'm gonna do spark plugs. I gotta pull these coilovers, coil on plugs out. Ignition coils on top of spark plugs. All right, we'll wrap that thing out of there, and hopefully that'll get enough stuff out of the way where I can take this lower intake out. All right, so I'm unplugging the injector so I can get the injector harness out of the way. I'm using my hook tool to reach down and unclick the red lock. Got to pop the red lock up so you can push the button and release it. So I'll get through it and unlock all of them on this side. Plastic loom around the wiring harness is crumbling apart, so I'm going to have to be careful when I pull this intake up. There's a lot of debris in here from this plastic type harness stuff. Is getting real brittle, especially along this side. It's just disintegrating. And it's just falling apart. I mean, it's little pieces everywhere. So what I'll use paper towels. Just clog up each hole. I don't think anything's gonna really boil back up and get in there, but one more. That'll prevent it if it does. I feel like I've been doing a stair-stepping class or something with this. Many times I've gone up the step ladder, bending over this huge bumper he's got on here. All right, put glasses on. lays the cooler. A little bit of oil in the front right there. You can see the coolant, red stain coolant down there underneath it in those cavities. Hopefully we don't lose a whole lot of oil and coolant down in this, but we probably will. I'm gonna pinch this hose off, this coolant hose off, unplug these connectors, take these four, maybe 6 bolts or 5 out of this thing and lift her out of there. It may fill this cavity full of oil, but if it does, we'll just evacuate it out. I've got a pump we can do that with. So there she blows. All right. Look at the lower intake, the gas pouring out of it. We're going to change these gaskets. Tips of the injectors look good. It's your fuel injector right there sticking through. That's where it sprays out right there, my fingertip. All right. Try and get our sensors unplugged here. That one doesn't have a lock on it. Oil pressure sensor does not have a lock on it, which means somebody's taken that off before. Somebody's been in here before and probably broke that lock. But it didn't seem like it was having any trouble staying on there, so I'm going to try to get this hose clamped down so we don't lose too much coolant down here in this cavity. All right, we got our hose clamped. We're gonna try to get this hose clamp off the pick that up. I could go ahead and pop this up and get it off up top. I may end up doing that, and we'll see if I can't get down in there though real quick and pop it off while it's mounted to the engine. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to get my clamps down in there. We'll just go ahead and take the bolts out and raise it up. Some more of that debris I was talking about. See if I can get that out of there. Caleb out there revving up his four-wheeler, having a good old time. Okay, it looks like a 8 inverted Torx bit. It's going to do the job on this one. Feels right. kind of give it a wiggle. Wiggle her out of there. Okay. Yeah, we're losing oil. And coolant comes up too. So, not much we can do about that. We're just gonna have to suck it out. We'll have to suck it out of there. No big deal. So I've got to get this clamp off. Free. We didn't lose too much. I got a little pump. We're going to suck that out of there, clean that up real good. Get those O-rings off of there. Get it all clean. This is what I'm working with this dang trying to film today. Let me turn this off. I bought this. I'm going to show you real quick. It's just getting on my nerves. I got to show somebody. I use this stand to hold my camera, and it's look at that. It's got, this thing's like a month old, and it's really stiff when you get it. And it's a cool deal. It's got this ball joint. You can maneuver it around, and these legs, you can bend it around and clamp it to things and use it as a tripod. But man, a month, I mean, daggum. This thing, it's got one good leg now. So it's been a challenge just trying to set the camera up today. I've got another one ordered that's a little bit of a different style, and I've got another mini tripod ordered so I can the camera keeps falling over. Kind of makes things difficult. Makes my job a little difficult, but we've got the intakes off. We got the cooler off. You can see where that cooler's been leaking. See that coolant built up right there? Where it's been leaking out right there. It's all kind of gelled up. It's been sitting there for a while. This thing had a coolant leak. My brother came in about a couple months ago. He didn't have any heat. He was low on coolant, and we were having trouble locating it. It was running down through this valley and trickling out down the transmission, and it was dripping out like back here, like down off the back of the transmission and transfer case area, and dripping down here. And man, we hunted and hunted. I pressure tested, I rinsed off, we drove, could not find it. It was very, very small leak, but it was still leaking. It was just a little tiny couple drips here and there. But it would, over a couple days, it would get low enough where it would affect his heat. And it was winter, he's needing heat. So I put some block sealer in it. I thought it was the head gaskets leaking. I was like, oh man, this thing's got leaking head gaskets already at 90K. But I was wrong. It did stop the leak. That head gasket and the can stuff that you buy for 30 bucks at the parts store, that stuff seal up some stuff. It'll seal up some leaks. So he was having a thermostat problem too that day. But we didn't put a thermostat in it yet, but I am going to do it on this go round. It was only getting up to about 180 degrees or something, 165 degrees, something like that. It wasn't getting fully warmed up. These things run around 200, 210. So we weren't getting a lot of heat because of that issue too, because I believe the thermostat's stuck open. So I'll be pulling the thermostat housing off in the next video and showing you that deal. But we're going to get through this this job here. We're going to get cleaned up here and start reassembling. Okay, sorry that was crazy loud and I didn't warn you. All right, so you see how much oil and coolant was down in that valley. It's been baking down in there. There's not a real good way to clean that out other than sucking it out like that. So I'm gonna clean up this valley as best as I can. Won't be able to get it all out, and we'll just clean up our surfaces that get sealed, of course. And I'm gonna spray some of this out with brake clean and make sure my knock sensor connectors are good. Okay, so I've got that fitting right there lubed up. That's the outer O-ring. The other ones are flat surfaced O-rings, so they just touch onto flat. I've got it cleaned up the best I can. Sprayed off the knock sensors. They had some coolant on them, and one of them had thrown a code way back, but hadn't been lately, so we're not going to change them. I hope that's not a mistake, but knock sensors usually don't go bad. They just get wet from coolant, and that's what was going on there. So we're ready to go back in. I'm going to lower it back in. Somebody crawled up here without my pliers. Nope, here they are. Okay. Use my clamp here. My electrical connectors are back up on top. Make sure my O-rings are still with me. Yep, got that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. All lubed up. On the way down, I'm going to plug in my oil pressure sensor. Well, say I'm going to. Well, it's on top, not on bottom this time. There we go. It clicked, which is good. Click. One last double check of my O-rings and my knock sensors, because that is the last time we're going to see them. Soak up a little bit more coolant. Keeps wanting to come back up out of that hole in the block. Nothing I can do about it. sequence is you tighten this one, then this one, and third, fourth, and fifth. 35 inch-pounds is what all data specs show to me. You look it up for yourself though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we're going to replace the upper and lower intake manifold gaskets. They're a little flat. Don't want to take any chances of any air leaks, so don't want any vacuum leaks, any lean codes or anything stupid like that, because we skimped on, you know, $40 or $80 for the seals or whatever. Can't remember exactly how much they cost, but they weren't much. Now if you're in a real big bind, you could, but that surface is about flat with that seal. And they got 90,000 miles on them, so come on out of there, big boy. There we go. Wipe some of the dirty old excess oil off. Hopefully he'll get another 90 or 100,000 miles out of it before I give him any trouble. Voila. And we'll do the exact same thing on the top. These could be reused. These are still sticking up proud. I bet you they changed these when the dealer was in there doing the lifters under warranty. All right, we're ready for reassembly. Okay, so I've got the I got the lower intake back on. I'm gonna hook the injectors up and the fuel rail, and then I'm gonna do the spark plugs. I'm gonna pull the coils out, pop some spark plugs in it, then I'm gonna put the upper back on, and we're gonna rock and roll. So just follow procedures as you did. Just reverse everything that you saw me do at the beginning, and that's pretty much it. Follow your torque specs, top your coolant up, change your oil. We're going to do a thermostat, but it's going to be in another video. which belongs right there. So we're going to pop that bad boy out before we put this thing back together as well. But just keep this video from going so long, I'm going to add that into a different video altogether. And so all right, I want to get the spark plugs in, get everything buttoned up here, and change the oil. And of course we're going to pull the thermostat, but it's going to be a two-part video, so you'll see that in the next video, thermostat by itself. And we will wrap this thing up. We appreciate you checking our channel out. Please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button down in the corner. It's down in the corner on the screen. Just got to touch it. Subscribe, easy peasy. We appreciate it. It'll help you grow. We're trying to grow this channel the best we can, and every little bit helps. Those likes and those subscribes are the only way I'm going to grow. So we appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you learned something. Got any questions, please drop them in the comments. Peace. Have a good day.